Okay, so we're talking about movies, music, and books that we recommend this week. I'm gonna go with movies and music first because they're the most brief of what I have. Music, The Mountain Goats. I know John Green goes on and on and on about them. My best friend and I have loved the Mountain Goats. Well, my best friends love them since they probably existed. And he got me hooked on them, and then I found the Vlogbrothers like a year and a half later. So, yeah, Mountain Goats for sure. Amanda Palmer, if you haven't ever heard of any of Amanda Palmer's stuff, I really encourage you to go and look into it. She was the female part of the Dresden Dolls, and yeah, all of her stuff is amazingly gorgeous and beautiful, and the work that she's doing when it comes to how musicians interact with their fans is amazing. Um, Cocorosie is another band that I really, really enjoy. They're kind of odd and weird and beautiful. Um, Trying to think. I might list a couple others. I'm gonna try and put everything that I recommend in the description. But those are the three that I know for sure that I want other people to be aware of. When it comes to movies, I'm really fond of the Ghost in the Shell movies, Ghost in the Shell 1 and 2. They're beautifully shot. The story is amazing and beautiful and weird and just gorgeous. I'm also very fond of Repo Men. Um, the story's kind of gruesome and gory for most people, but it's really beautiful, and I think that it's worth checking out. I really like Constantine for the same reason I like Supernatural. The things that they talk about, if you actually do study on the background of spells and myths concerning demons and angels and things like that, it's pretty it's historically accurate for as historical as you can get for things that may or may not be true. Um, Boondock Saints, of course, um, and Crybaby and True Romance. Those two, the Badger really wants to have Johnny Depp's hair in Crybaby. That's like his end goal in life, and True Romance is like our movie because we're weird like that. But yeah, those are my movies and music recommendations. I'm sure there's others, but those are the things that popped up in my head first. Now for books, I've got. There's so many books that I want to recommend to people, and I just go crazy with it all. But I tried to narrow it down some. The first two books are by dual authors, and I picked them because both authors are ones that I think that you should read. I think they're worth reading. The work that they do is very important and very well thought out, and they're just beautiful, beautiful authors. The first one is this is Variable Star. It's written by Robert Heinlein and Spider Robinson. It was finished by Spider Robinson after Robert Heinlein's death. Robert Heinlein wrote about taboos and things that are not culturally acceptable and how society dictates what we are and who we are and why we should not necessarily be okay with that. And his health was never really good. He was in the Air Force. He served in the military. I can't remember offhand what branch. But he ended up getting medically retired, and he ended up trying to run for office multiple times. And he was very active in the idea of if you are trying to be the best person you can be, you should do that in every aspect of your life. And I really admire that, and I really admire the books that he wrote. He's most well known for Starship Troopers, Stranger in a Strange Land, and Time Enough for Love. But those are just brief glimpses into what he's written. You should read everything that you can. If you like those books at all, you should read anything that you can of his. They're just amazingly written books when you stop and consider that he wrote back in the 40s. And Spider Robinson is hysterically funny. He wrote Callahan's Crosstime Saloon, and he's very punny. Very, very well written books, and he actually did a lot of work with Robert Heinlein with writing and whatnot, which is why Robert Heinlein's descendants agreed to have him finish writing Variable Star. The second book is Good Omens by Good Omens by Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett. Both those authors are amazing and wonderful and just weird. Yeah. Oh, and Neil Gaiman is married to Amanda Palmer, so that's like super awesome. Terry Pratchett is currently working on the Right to Die movement in Britain. In the UK, he's was recently not recently, it's been a couple of years now, diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's, and he is working on The Right to Die with Dignity, which I find to be really, really amazing and awesome. The next author is Jane Yolen. She wrote this. This is the book that contains the trilogy. I think it's a trilogy, anyway, of her Alta series, and they're written They're written from 3 or 4 different viewpoints. The story as it's happening, the legends and folk tales and folk songs about it, and 1 or 2 various different current interpretations. The story as it happens involves magic and things like that. The folk tales involve magic and things like that, and then the current interpretations are not believing in magic and trying to fit it into what they believe the world to be, which I find really awesome. Mercedes Lackey is another wonderful author. She does she's done a series that's fairly well known. Now I can't think of it. But yeah, anyway, Mercedes Lackey is a wonderful, wonderful author. The way she writes fantasy is just amazingly beautiful. This one is the last book in Ellen Kushner's Sword series. Ellen Kushner, she did a trilogy of books on an alternative past timeline involving magic, and all of her main characters are either bi, gay, or pansexual, and it's really beautifully written, and the imagery in the books it's just really amazing. Really recommend reading her stuff. And last but not least, Charles de Lint. He writes urban fairy tales, but they're not really fairy tales. They pull in Celtic and Norse and Native American mythology and wrap it all together in this beautiful knot of awesomeness. And most of his characters are written from the woman's point of view, and most of his main characters have lived their lives surviving childhood abuse, and the way he writes about it and the way that his characters deal with it and the things that he talks about in regards to that, I cry sometimes reading his books. It's just really amazing. So yeah, that's my recommendations in my almost 10-minute long video, and I will see Freda on Thursday.